Is she seriously referencing Santa Claus? This girl was 100% born on a Christmas tree farm, and that's all I gotta say on that. Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Yes, I know the background is different, but unfortunately things are not good yet. I'm just in my flooded apartment to film a video because it's the middle of the night. I don't want to wake my roommates up, and to be quite frank, I don't have the room in that apartment to stand up, and I'm sick of filming while I'm slouching. But I really don't mind this setup. You can't even tell that my walls are destroyed, and you can't even tell that there's like 15 pieces of furniture stacked on top of each other behind the ring light. So that's pretty cool. But obviously my life is a mess right now, so I'm not exactly sticking to my video schedule that I wanted to. So if you guys have any requests for anything you guys want to see, whether that's Taylor Swift related or not, feel free to leave those down below. I will probably do them because life is a disaster. But before we get into the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post a ton of other Taylor Swift related content. I even have a playlist. I'll link it up here. I also post some lifestyle stuff like some story times, etc. So hit that subscribe button and turn the bell icon on so you can get notified every time I make a new video. Today we're going to be going over my thoughts on Reputation. This was actually a request from one of you guys a few months ago after I revisited Lover. The thing is, with Reputation, I never wrote a review right when it came out, so unfortunately I don't have my initial thoughts on the album, but I still decided to do this and just kind of review each song track by track. I will have timestamps down below if you want to go to a specific one, so let's just get into it. These are literally my notes, like sitting on my nasty, dusty half wall. Okay, so first we're gonna start with Ready For It. I really like the throat clear that it starts off with. I think this is a really good starter track because of that. I also love that it's like Taylor Swift almost rapping. Her flow is impeccable, by the way, like it's so much influences from hip hop in this song that I see. I'm really glad she explored this genre shift. I really like the edgy instrumentation. I also love that the verses really contrast with the chorus because the verses are this like Taylor Swift rapping type thing and they're really fast. And then the chorus is this very dreamlike, slower melody, and it kind of is reminiscent of Wildest Dreams in a way, I think. Even though both songs are completely different from each other, I just hear some sonic similarities. Something I really like with the wordplay she does is when she sings, holding him for ransom, some boys are trying too hard, like the way she connects those two words using the ending. It's just such smart writing. And she does the same thing with we'll move to an island and he can be my jailer. It isn't just smart lyrics, but it's really smart wordplay. And something about it is just really pleasing to the ear, like the rhythm is very good. Overall, I love this as an opening track. I think State of Grace is probably my all-time favorite opening track, but this really just sets the tone for the album and kind of reminds you why you're here. My favorite lyric is younger than my exes, but he act like such a man, so. She's really leaning into this serial dater character, and it's kind of like satire in a way, similar to what she did with Blank Space, and I would rate this track a 10 out of 10. So next is Endgame. I think this is a great collab. I really love Taylor with Ed Sheeran. I would have loved if they would have collabed together for Folklore or Evermore because I think them with that genre, kind of like Everything Has Changed, it's just a match made in heaven. Like both of them work with folk or acoustic-y stuff so well. Anyways, they still really bring smart lyrics to this edgier sound as well. I think this follows Ready For It really nicely because sonically they're pretty similar. Taylor is again doing this like white girl rap type thing, so it's giving the album a really consistent sound so far. This song also name drops the title of the album, which I think is a really satisfying thing to have in there musically. As far as production and music goes, I think this one is a little more appealing to me than Ready For It just because it doesn't stay on the exact same chord throughout the entire verse. There's some movement in there and I think it makes it a little less rap and a little more pop by doing this. My favorite lyric is, and I bury hatchets but I keep maps of where I put them. I really like that she took this spun on such a common phrase and it's not a cliche when she does it like this. So I would rate this one a 10 out of 10 also. Next is I Did Something Bad, which is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs ever. It's like I Knew You Were Trouble's bigger sister because it's so edgy and angry and revolutionary. It's really experimental for Taylor. I also adore the live performance when they lift her up and it's like she's being burned at the stake. The visuals, the vibes, it's just such a good track. I love just the whole witch burning symbolism that they're working with, and I'm really sad this one wasn't a single. I'm more sad about this one not being single than I am about Getaway Car, honestly. me. And from a lyrical standpoint, when you look at it, the chorus is a little weak because it's just that really basic idea that's been done before of like, I did something bad, but why does it feel good? But I think the true value in this song is in the melody that she's writing with her voice and the emotion that she pours into it, as well as the production. But I think it just embodies the spirit of Reputation so well. Like, I don't have any qualms with a cliche chorus when it sounds like that. And you can't even really tell that the chorus is kind of cliche until you're really listening to the words, because the way she sings them, the emotion she pours into them, she like takes you on this roller coaster with her voice, and there's just so much room for a lot of emotion. So it's a really dynamic song because of that. My favorite lyric is, if a man talks shit, then I owe him nothing. I don't regret it one bit because he had it coming. And I would rate this one a 10 out of 10. Next is Don't Blame Me. I think this might be the best one on the entire album. She intended to write about a mix of love, religion, and drugs with this one, and I think it's done in a really fresh way. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Take Me to Church, but it's still like nothing like it at the same time. It's really churchy and dynamic. It's even better live, and the production is also just top tier. She's really leaning into the serial dater character again with this song, with lines like, I've been breaking hearts a long time and toying with these older guys to just play things for me to use. That's definitely how the media saw her, even though anybody who knows anything about Taylor Swift and listens to her music knows that she feels things from relationships. I also love that this song starts off with the chorus because that's a really smart thing to do in today's day and age when everyone has really short attention spans. Like, you're giving people the catchiest part, which is the hook, right off the bat. The bridge is a dynamic dream. The lyrics, again, are not the best, but it's the way she delivers them and just the dynamic contrast in it. I love when a song just builds and builds and builds until it gets to the bridge, and then it's just the like, oh Lord save me, my drug is my baby, and then all the music comes back in full force even stronger, and there's that insane vocal that leads it back into the chorus. It's just a really incredible structure. I also am a huge fan of 7 chords, and she uses one in the pre-chorus right before it kicks into that really strong chorus, and the way she does this, it works exactly as it's supposed to do. The 7 chord is there to build tension, and then the chorus is so climactic, and it's exactly what your ear wants to hear right after that 7 chord happens. My favorite lyric is, I once was poison ivy, but now I'm your daisy, and I would rate this one also a 10 out of 10. This album starts off so strong. So next we have Delicate. This is the first vulnerable, more slowed down track on the entire album, which is odd for Taylor to number them this way. She usually has kind of alternating. It's not like 4 really strong ones in a row. And track 5 usually is one of the more toned down kind of songs, like it's a little more vulnerable. They usually are a little more heartfelt and a little less high energy. I love the percussion in this one. I remember thinking in the beginning that it kind of reminded me of Drake a little bit. The rhythm really borrows from that kind of like lo-fi hip-hop genre. So it is still a pretty experimental track for Taylor. The lyrics are kind of sensual without being overtly sexual, like a lot of pop music. In fact, a lot of Reputation does have a lot of more sensual lyrics, and I think that's something Taylor does really well because it's not vulgar really at all, and I think her voice tone fits it really well, especially when she does that lower register and kind of like a whisper. It's almost the same kind of sensuality that you find in the jazz genre, which I'm really glad she explored later on with False God. An example of these type of lyrics are, long night with your hands up in my hair, echoes of your footsteps on the stairs, stay here honey, I don't want to share. The alliteration also, but she sings that so low and with this like whispered tone. I'm so glad that she's not afraid just to like be a grown-up anymore. My favorite lyric is, handsome, you're a mansion with a view, because she's literally telling him he's beautiful inside and out, like just, and I didn't even realize that until much later after the album was released. I would rate this one a 9 out of 10. I do favor the edgier stuff more, but this is still a really good one. Okay, so next we have Look What You Made Me Do. This is one of my least favorite Taylor Swift songs, but the music video is one of my favorite music videos by her. My feelings on this one are probably going to be a little bit confusing because I love this one as a first single. I think it just establishes the vibe really well, but at the same time, I feel like this song is but a vessel for just the concept of Reputation and the Easter eggs she put in the music video and just establishing her dramatic genre shift and just like a comeback song, I guess. At the same time though, I wouldn't have been mad if she'd have used like I Did Something Bad as the first single and did a very similar music video, because I think that would have been just as shocking. But also at the same time, I realize you need that the old Taylor's dead metaphor in the bridge because the media did kill her, and even though it's executed a little cheesy, I don't know, I'm glad that she did it. I'm glad this song exists because it's a fun little like to the media, but it's just so not Taylor that it's just not the best. I do like the live version because of the subtle changes in production and the ad-libs and the dancing. It has a little more dynamics and energy on the rep tour. Mainly what I don't like about this song is the more cliche lyrics and the really repetitive chorus. I don't think the instrumentation and melody make up for it in the same way that it does for other songs that have some weaker lines. I understand she's writing a character here. I still think she does that better on Folklore and Evermore, and I like that she's fully leaning into this like villain character because that's what people genuinely believed she was. But as someone who's a Swiftie and who heard that leaked phone call, you know that's not what she is. Shit, this song is almost like she's playing the villain instead of playing the victim. Like, it's so exaggerated. It feels a little bit ingenuine because of that, and I realize it's satire and it's supposed to be funny, but the lyrics still like take themselves too seriously. Let me explain. I got a list of names and yours is in red underline. I check it once, then I check it twice. Is she seriously referencing Santa Claus? If you have another interpretation, please leave it down below because this has been bothering me since 2017. I don't know what else to make of that. Like, it's just so cringe, and the bridge where she says the old Taylor is dead is a little funny, and it's not as bad as the Santa Claus reference because it's like definitely supposed to be melodramatic and it's very intentional. It's pretty obviously satirical, but like, why the hell is Santa Claus in here? That might be the majority of my beef, honestly. Like, who told her she should do that? And my favorite lyric is, I got a list of names and yours is in red underlined. I check it once, then I check it twice. Yep, it's my favorite lyric because who the hell embodies Santa Claus on a diss track? This girl was 100% born on a Christmas tree farm, and that's all I gotta say on that. And I would rate this one a 6 out of 10. So next is So It Goes. I like the magician metaphors on this one, as well as the I'm not a bad girl, but I do bad things with you. Like, there's that consistent like bad girl theme on Reputation. Just like she references in I Did Something Bad, there's parallels there. I also like the little breakdown where she whispers 1, 2, 3. It's just more of the instrumentation that doesn't strike a huge chord with me. It's mostly 2 chords throughout the entire thing, so I don't feel a whole lot of movement until the chorus. I think they even use this as the closing track on the Rep Tour movie on Netflix, and I think it is a pretty good closer kind of song. Like, it's really mellow in some ways. I don't think they even included it on the permanent Rep Tour set list. I feel like I remember reading something about how they couldn't figure out whether it needed choreography or not, so they just kind of scrapped it. My favorite lyric is, you did a number on me, but honestly, baby, who's counting? And I would rate this one a 7 out of 10. Next is Gorgeous. I think this one's cute and pretty funny. The lyrics are pretty simple. I don't like the vocal melody a whole lot. Like, in the verse, she's doing this thing like what she did on Blank Space where she stays on the exact same note for several lines, the entire stanza, which isn't that interesting to me. I like the melody of the pre-chorus and the chorus a lot more. My favorite lyric is, guess I'll just stumble on home to my cats alone unless you want to come along. There's nothing really that groundbreaking here lyrically, so I'm just going with the funniest line because I think it's just supposed to be like a casual funny song, and I would rate this one a 7 out of 10. Next is Getaway Car. This 80s feel is so fun. I love the dynamics on this one. The bridge is really good. It's just very classic Taylor and Jack Antonoff together. The whole concept of being robbers and using a man as a getaway car, it's very creative, and it also like fits the character that Reputation is. It's done really well. There's the much needed Bonnie and Clyde references. It's just very satisfying because lyrically she checks off like every single thing you need when writing a song like this. It's very typical Taylor Swift storytelling perfection. Production wise, I love the violins that are in there right before the last chorus kicks in. It adds all this drama. I like the vocal effect that's used in the very beginning. I think it's another vocoder like what they used in Delicate. For me, the bridge to the end is really where it's at. The key change that happens as the bridge starts is just sonically everything. It just kicks into this gorgeous major chord, and then the outro is also a really good part. It's just so full of emotion. My favorite lyric is either it was the best of times, the worst of crimes, because I love that play on that quote, or the tides were black, the lives were white, because that's just a really smart use of language. I think lyrically the first verse is the strongest part of the song, but honestly, every single line in this song is there for a purpose. There's just no fluff. Like, every single thing is in there for a reason, and it's very efficient and concise, and I would rate this one a 9 out of 10. Okay, next is King of My Heart. This is like the London boy of Reputation, honestly. She even uses the word fancy, but this one is more about her like Americanness than his Britishness. I really like the heartbeat-ish kind of drums because they are reminiscent of Wildest Dreams a little bit. She did the same thing there. And I love that she incorporated acoustic guitar into this one, while the rest of the production is really that distinct, edgy Reputation production. Pretty solid lyrics, and I like the fun vocal stuff she does with it. Like in the bridge, she drags out the word crush and cups. It's like nearly ASMR. And my favorite line, now you try on calling me baby like trying on clothes, and I would rate this one an 8 out of 10. So next is Dancing with Our Hands Tied. This one feels like the sister of So It Goes in some ways. I really like the contrasting rhythm of the lyrics in the verse and chorus because the pre-chorus is a lot faster. This song is so sad to me because she truly thought her relationship with Joe was over, or I think she tried to like break up with him when she thought the press would ruin their relationship and he just refused or something like that. My favorite part of this one lyrically is the bridge because I love when Taylor does the flooding room kind of metaphors like on Clean. She sings about this room pretty much destructing while she dances with him, so it's like on fire and flooding at the same time, and it's just really good visuals. My favorite line, my love had been frozen, deep blue, but you painted me golden, and I would rate this one an 8 out of 10. So next is Dress. She mentions the color golden here again. This one has a similar rhythm to Dancing with Our Hands Tied because of the fast pre-chorus that contrasts with nearly everything else in the song, other than the bridge. The backing vocals are also really good and dreamy. Her higher register sounds so good. That's probably one of my favorite aspects of this song. Also, the hook is so clever. Only bought this dress so you could take it off. Just a really cool concept. And I love that Taylor now has a song called Dress as well as Cardigan. Imagine if she released merch that was like the dress. Anyway, production wise, she has some hi-hats going on that contrast with the super dreamy synth underneath it. The song starts off with those two things happening at separate parts, but by the end of the first chorus, they're both happening at the same time. It's just this like match made in heaven. I also appreciate the many complex layers of harmonies going on in her voice. My favorite lyric is, and if I get burned, at least we were electrified, and I would rate this one an 8 out of 10. Next is This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things. I love that she took this phrase and just made it the title of her song. She talks about Gatsby in this one like she does in Happiness off of Evermore. The dynamic contrast of this one is great because the pre-chorus serves as this like breakdown, and then the chorus comes in full swing with all this energy and almost shouting. It's a pretty solid diss track, I'd say, more so than Look What You Made Me Do, because the lyrics are very descriptive. She references the phone call in a much more clever way, and I like how the first verse details how things were before shit hit the fan, how she was experiencing that success during 1989. This song just tells more of a story, and I really like the bridge because she has this like choir boy effect going on. This song doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest, which is what I think makes it work more than Look What You Made Me Do. It's just dripping with his sarcasm and sass, and it's beautifully annoyed without being bitter. The way she delivers lines also really adds to it, like when she sings, and here's to my real friends. Production wise, I think it's a really fun mix of instruments. She starts off with these siren sounds that continue throughout the song, and then in the chorus she's got this really bouncy light piano. There's these tense strings during parts where she pretends like she's taking it seriously, and then it becomes like the audio embodiment of a circus after those parts. And I really like the ending where all the instruments just cut out and she just says nice things. My favorite lyric is, and so I took an axe to a mended fence. This one reminds me of I bury hatchets but I keep maps of where I put them. And I like how this line, it's so short but it references so much. It pretty much says that he has hurt her before and the fence was already mended once, so it's just more concise storytelling, and I would rate this one an 8 out of 10. Next is Call It What You Want, and I want to start off by saying I love what Jack Antonoff did to create an intro by like splicing all her vocals up together. The use of vocals as instruments on Reputation in general is so genius, like the ra-da-da-da-da-da and I Did Something Bad. These lyrics are also really good. It reminds me of Getaway Car because every single line has so much to say. I love the line in the first verse where she says nobody's heard from her for months and she's doing better than she ever was. I also like the line in the chorus, my babies fly like a jet stream high above the whole scene, like she's saying he's above all of this petty drama that she was getting dragged into. It's a really smart way of describing that. Again, it's just the visuals. While the structure of the songs on Reputation are a little more standard and not as experimental as like Folklore and Evermore, I do love how she played with the second verse and made it longer than the first verse. It's a little bit unusual and sounds really cool, and during that part she has this really interesting like buzzy bass sound, and it pans from one headphone to the other as it's happening. It's subtle, subtle, but I think it adds a lot. The reference to Love Story in the bridge is also so genius. The reference to her past works and her character development is something I just love seeing her do. This one even has the really fast-paced hi-hats going on, like most of the songs on Reputation, and it feels like those wouldn't work for this kind of sound, but they made it work and it adds that cohesion to it. My favorite lyric is "All my flowers grew back as thorns," and I would rate this one a 9 out of 10. And now we're on to the last track, New Year's Day. I love this as a closing track. It reminds me of Daylight a little bit. It's just so stripped down and it's unlike anything else on Reputation. As far as the vibes go, it's a little similar to Call It What You Want, but just way more stripped down, as I said. It's just a great way to finish the album in an unexpected way. I like that it's just like that piano, some harmonies. She's got some acoustic guitar and I think like these synthy violin type sounds, like there's no drums, there's no bass. It's really just very focused on her voice. I love that you can hear her changing the pedal of the piano in it. I am a music major and I love when you can hear like the real instruments. I just love that that's a thing that you can hear. And the fact that she used a real piano instead of a keyboard. I love the verses and the chorus. I really like when she paints this picture of after the party there being glitter and candle wax and Polaroids on the floor. Like that's just, it's so detailed. Girls stumbling around carrying their shoes, the detail. And I like that she repeats that verse later on in the song because it's such a strong verse. I'm glad she recognized that, but she changes it to say "you and me forevermore" instead of "you and me from the night before," so it's just really cute. Forevermore, I could dance to this beat forevermore. Evermore references. And the lyrics explore such an interesting concept of how you want someone's New Year's Day and not their New Year's Eve. Well, she does want it, but she's essentially saying like she'll still stick around to like clean up with him after the party, which is a whole metaphor for like wanting to be there with him during the bad times in life as well as the good. It makes me think of the idea of when you're with the right person, like things that you normally hate doing, like grocery shopping, for example. It can seem like such a chore, but when you're with the right person, like it can be fun. I think the writing is really mature and loving. The only thing I would change is I think the bridge is repeated too many times with really basic instrumentation, and while the instruments do sound beautiful, I think when such basic instruments are happening, you need to make the lyrics or the vocal melody a little more complex. Otherwise, you are just singing the same thing over and over again with the same sounds underneath you, like the same instruments going on. So for me, after like the second chorus, everything just really starts to blend together, honestly. So to some it might seem kind of long, but at the same time I think other people might find that really peaceful. Daylight gives me the same vibe. I think there's a lot of repetition going on in that one, but yeah, after a certain point I just kind of lose where I am in the song. But otherwise there's great feelings in this song. I think after the whirlwind of Reputation, this one just kind of lets you breathe. And my favorite lyric is "candle wax and Polaroids on the hardwood floor," and I would rate this one an 8 out of 10. So yeah, that is my review of Reputation. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below which song is your favorite off of Reputation. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I'll be back next week, probably in this same spot, but hopefully with walls, but probably not. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye guys.